What's up now, folks? So I've had quite a few questions about how to cut the lock bars on my liner locks and frame locks. Pretty simple, fairly easy way. Uh, with this is just a small bench top mini mill, so doesn't require a huge full size mill. Anyway, I use these Dremel Easy Lock. They're abrasive cutoff wheels. 1.5 inch diameter. Not sure if you can see them in the light. There we go. Alright, the one I've got on here is actually worn a little over halfway down, so I'll have to replace it soon. But they come with this little mandrel, so it's a quick release, so you can pull up on it, pop it off. So when this one gets worn down, if it gets worn down before I get done with this part, then I can just back it off and leave everything at the same height, pop a new wheel on there, crank it back up, and it'll line right back up and go without having to line everything back up and pull that out and mess with the little screwdriver, the ones with the little screws in the ends that got screw into the mandrel. They're kind of a pain. So I like these Easy Locks. They're pretty handy and they cut well. So they're obviously metal cutting, and you can get these, of course, on Amazon. Lowe's even carries them, so they're not hard to find. So basically what I do is once I lay my lock bar out on my design, okay, drill a hole at either end of it to give it a good place to kill off on each end, and I go ahead and draw a line, and then I make sure once I clamp it up, I make sure I run it all the way back and forth. I make sure that my cutting wheel is actually following the line and hitting in the center of each hole, which I've actually already made some adjustments on this one and gotten it ready, so it's good to go. Alright, double check it there. Alright, so once you do that, it's super simple. The trick with these is just you can't horse them too much. You've got to give the cutting disc a chance to do the cutting. If you try to feed it too quick, you're just going to end up disintegrating your disc, and you're not going to get much life out of it, and it's nasty and all that good stuff. So basically, I start on my little mini mill. I run it wide open, which is like 2,500 RPMs on here. I just run it wide open, just go back and forth, feeding it in a little deeper at each time until I finally break through the back. And then once I break through the back, I feed it all the way in as far as it will go, and then run it all the way to the one end, all the way to the other end, and trying to break through into these holes on either end. Now sometimes, especially if I've got if it's starting to get worn like this and the diameter of my disc is smaller, I may actually crank my vise around and actually bring it around so that the blade is on the opposite side to finish off and get those cuts where it's not quite reaching. Or you can just swap out and put a new disc in there if you want to. So I'm not going to film this entire process of doing this because it's kind of monotonous and loud and all that. I normally run my little vacuum here to kind of catch the dust while I'm doing it, but for noise sake, I'm going to leave it off for the moment while I film just a couple of minutes of doing this for you guys. It's really not that hard to do. If you got at least a little mini mill and grab you some of these Easy Locks, you're good to go. So let's make a few passes on this and show you what it looks like. Okay guys, so that's probably about a third of the way through or so. And this is, I think this piece is somewhere around between 1.170, 175 thick. So it's 175 thousandths thick. That's about a third of the way, so you can kind of get an idea of how long it'd take to cut through there. My wheel's getting down pretty small now, so it's about time to change it out. So I guess I actually might as well just go ahead and do that so you guys can see how simple and easy it is. But with a fresh wheel on there that's got the larger diameter, it'll actually start to kind of speed up a little bit too. So a piece that size, I don't really time it, but I'd probably do this full cut on this thing, start to finish, from putting it in the vise to being done with it in less than 5 minutes. So not too bad. So I just pop that one off of there. Pop that one on. Crank it back over. And what I like to do, just to be safe, in case there's any kind of wobble or anything, I go ahead and crank it in and get the blade in the slot that I've started. Before I turn it on, I'll do just one pass or two here so you can see what I mean. So I'll do that. That way, if something happened and something got a little loose or the blade's on there a little wonky, I won't end up, you know, getting a sloppy cut and it hitting a little high or a little low or something. But I just go ahead and start it. Not enough to where it's really giving it much resistance, but just enough to kind of get it in there so it's not going to run off on you. So now we're already in the slot, so we're good to go. Doesn't take a lot of experience to kind of get the feel of the right feeds and speeds for it to optimize your cutting while minimizing the wear on your little blade there. They're going to wear out anyway, so just buy you a big pack of them and be ready to go. I like to keep a spare mandrel on hand too, because I have screwed up and bent a mandrel, and you don't have to wait on it if you've got an extra one on hand, of course. But so that's pretty much it. Like I said, just cut it all the way through, let it kill off in the holes on either end, and then I usually go back and clean it up either with some sandpaper through the slot before I finish the knife completely out. I'll either do like a shoe shine motion with a strip of paper through the slot, up and down, or sometimes I use a little file and go in there and just kind of file the cut there and clean it up a little bit, make the edges look good. To do the shortcut, let me grab another piece I've got right here on my bench. If you heard that clang, that was me dropping it on the way over here, of course. So anyway, pretty par for the course. So this one's had the lock cut, okay? And then what I would do is the exact same process. It's just that I would clamp it up in here vertically, okay? I never really have a lot of problem. I clamp it in there, I put it as deep in the vise as it'll go, clamp it, and then the vise is actually holding the lock leg and the rest of the frame. And then usually I take a pair of vice grips or something and I'll clamp it so that when that lock cuts loose, just in case something tries to snag or something and it tries to move, and it could cause, like I was saying, that bent mandrel a while ago, it can cause some problems. So I just slap some vice grips or some sort of clamp on there so it just kind of holds still as it kind of breaks loose. If you're worried about or have a little chatter or something, you can always clamp up a piece of aluminum or something like this in your vise, and then have this part actually clamp both down in the vise, and then have this also clamp to the plate and then cut it. That would actually probably be the most ideal way to do it with the least amount of vibration and chatter, but I honestly don't usually have much trouble. So I would just go back and basically make a line 90 degrees off of this line coming out, killing off in the center of that circle, and then do the cut the exact same way with it clamped up in there like this, or if you're doing it quick like me, just straight down in the vise. So anyway, but that's it. Pretty simple. If you guys have any questions about that, feel free to hit me up. You can comment or whatever. I know this is one way to do it. There are quite a few, and I surely don't think this is the best way to do it, but it's the way I've worked out that for me and with my equipment it works pretty well. I'm just kind of used to doing it this way. So anyway, so the Dremel Easy Lock, and basically clamp it up and go to town. Not too big a deal. I'll try to get some more videos up, maybe some more stuff about how I do some of my processes pretty soon. So I appreciate you guys watching. Have a great day.